Maya had been staring at the same spreadsheet for 20 minutes. The numbers blurred together as she rubbed her tired eyes. Outside her office window, the city buzzed with life, but inside this glass tower, everything felt stuck in slow motion. She was 28 and supposedly living the dream. Corner office on the 15th floor, designer clothes hanging in her closet, a salary that made her parents proud. But somewhere between the morning meetings and evening reports, she had lost something important. She just couldn't figure out what it was. The invitation email sat in her inbox for 3 days before she finally opened it. Annual company retreat, luxury resort, team building activities, the usual corporate nonsense, she thought. But her boss had made it clear that attendance wasn't optional for senior staff. Maya packed her suitcase with the same clothes she wore every day. Blazers, dress pants, sensible shoes. At the last minute, she threw in an old swimsuit she found buried in her drawer. She couldn't remember the last time she had worn it, but the resort had a pool. Maybe she would sit by it with her laptop and catch up on work. The resort was beautiful, she had to admit. Palm trees swayed in the warm breeze. The ocean sparkled in the distance. But Maya barely noticed. She was too busy checking emails on her phone as the bus pulled up to the main building. Her colleagues were already unpacking when she arrived. Everyone seemed excited about the weekend ahead. Pool parties, beach volleyball, spa treatments. Maya listened to their chatter with a fixed smile. She had perfected this smile over years of meetings and networking events. It said she was engaged and enthusiastic, even when she felt anything but. The first day passed in a blur of workshops and presentations, trust exercises and communication seminars. Maya went through the motions, taking notes and nodding at the right moments. She was good at this corporate dance. Too good, maybe. That evening, the group gathered around the pool for dinner. Fairy lights twinkled overhead. The water looked inviting under the soft glow. Maya sat at a table with her coworkers, picking at her salad while they laughed about the day's activities. "Come on, let's go for a swim," said Jessica, one of the younger executives. She had already changed into a bright bikini and was practically bouncing with excitement. "I didn't bring anything to swim in," lied Tom, though Maya had seen him packing swim shorts earlier. "The water looks amazing," added Lisa, but she made no move to get up from her chair. Maya understood their hesitation. Swimming meant letting their guard down. It meant showing a different side of themselves. In the office, they were all professionals, polished and put together. But in the water, they would just be people. The group's energy was infectious, though. Soon half the team was splashing around in the shallow end, laughing like children. Maya watched from her chair, feeling both envious and terrified. Part of her wanted to join them. A bigger part wanted to hide in her room and answer emails. "You should get in," said David, her closest friend at work. He had been trying to coax her into the pool for the past hour. "When's the last time you actually relaxed?" Maya couldn't remember. Even her vacations were scheduled down to the minute. Museums at 9, lunch at 12:30, dinner at 7 sharp. She had forgotten how to just be spontaneous. The truth was, she used to love the water. Back in high school, she practically lived at the community pool. She swam laps every morning before school, her arms cutting through the water with practiced ease. Her coach said she had natural talent. Her teammates called her a fish. But that was a lifetime ago, before college applications and job interviews and climbing the corporate ladder. Before she learned that success meant sacrificing the things you loved for the things you were supposed to want. "I only came for one thing," she said finally, standing up from her chair. Her voice was playful, but her heart was racing. "And it wasn't to get my hair wet." Her coworkers laughed, thinking she was talking about the presentation she had to give tomorrow morning. She had been nervous about it all week, preparing slides and practicing her speech in the mirror. But as she stood there, looking at the inviting blue water, something shifted inside her. The pool called to her in a way that felt both foreign and familiar, like meeting an old friend after years apart. Without thinking, she shrugged off her blazer and let it fall to the ground. The fabric landed with a soft thud on the concrete. Her coworkers stopped talking and stared. Maya never did anything unexpected. She was the responsible one, the planner, the person who always followed the rules. Next came her dress pants, folded neatly and placed on her chair. Then her silk blouse, revealing the simple black swimsuit underneath. It was nothing fancy, just a basic one-piece she had bought years ago for a beach vacation she never took. The transformation was remarkable. Gone was the polished executive in her corporate armor. In her place stood a woman who looked younger, freer, more alive. Her colleagues watched in amazement as their buttoned-up coworker prepared to dive into the pool. Maya stood at the edge, her toes curling over the smooth tile. The water was crystal clear, lit from below by underwater lights. She could see all the way to the bottom, 8 feet down. For a moment she hesitated. What if she had forgotten how to swim? What if she made a fool of herself? But then she remembered the feeling of gliding through water, weightless and powerful at the same time. The rhythm of breathing and stroking that once felt as natural as walking. The peace that came from being completely present in the moment. She took a deep breath and dove in. The water welcomed her like an old friend. Cool and refreshing, it washed away the stress of the day. Her body remembered what her mind had forgotten. Her arms moved in perfect rhythm, her legs kicked with surprising strength. She swam the length of the pool underwater, not coming up for air until she reached the far end. When she surfaced, her coworkers were cheering, but Maya barely heard them. She was lost in the sensation of being exactly where she belonged. The water felt like home in a way her apartment never had. Her office never had. Maybe nothing had, for a very long time. She swam lap after lap, each stroke smoother than the last. The chlorine stung her eyes, but she didn't care. Her hair would be a mess tomorrow, but she didn't care about that either. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking about work or deadlines or what other people expected from her. She was just swimming. The pool deck grew quiet as her colleagues stopped splashing and started watching. Maya's technique was flawless, her speed impressive. She moved through the water like she was born for it, each lap more confident than the last. When she finally stopped breathing hard but exhilarated, the group burst into applause. Maya treaded water, suddenly self-conscious about all the attention. But the feeling inside her was too strong to ignore. She felt more like herself than she had in years. The next morning, Maya woke up feeling different. Her shoulders were sore in a good way, the kind of ache that comes from muscles remembering what they were made for. She looked in the bathroom mirror and hardly recognized herself. Her skin had a healthy glow. Her eyes looked brighter. Even her posture seemed straighter. The company presentation went better than expected. Maya spoke with confidence she hadn't felt in months. Her slides were perfect, her delivery smooth. But all she could think about was getting back to the pool. During the lunch break, she snuck away from the group and found herself sitting by the water's edge. The pool was empty now, its surface perfectly still. She dipped her feet in, feeling the cool water against her skin. "Mind if I join you?" came a voice from behind her. Maya turned to see an older man with silver hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple polo shirt and had the weathered look of someone who spent a lot of time outdoors. She had noticed him around the resort but assumed he was just another guest. "I'm Coach Rodriguez," he said, settling down beside her. "I couldn't help but notice your swimming last night." "Very impressive." Maya felt her cheeks warm. "Oh, that was nothing. I used to swim in high school, but that was ages ago." The coach smiled. Muscle memory never forgets. "I've been coaching competitive swimmers for 30 years, and I know natural talent when I see it." "You have beautiful form." "Thank you," Maya said, not sure how to respond. Compliments about her work presentations were one thing, but praise for something she actually loved? That felt foreign. "What do you do now?" Coach Rodriguez asked. "I work in marketing," Maya replied automatically. "Senior executive at a consulting firm." "It's a great job. Good benefits, room for advancement." She realized she sounded like she was trying to convince herself as much as him. "Sounds important," he said. "But you don't sound happy about it." Maya stared at the water. Nobody had ever asked her that question directly. In her world, career success was supposed to equal happiness. If you had a good job, you should be grateful. If you were making money, you should be satisfied. "I guess I never really thought about happiness," she admitted. "I've been focused on other things. Building my career, paying off student loans, making my parents proud." Coach Rodriguez nodded. "I understand. But let me ask you something. When you were swimming last night, how did you feel? Maya closed her eyes, remembering. Free, she said without hesitation. Like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. That's what I thought, the coach said gently. You know, I train adults as well as kids. There's a whole world of competitive swimming for people your age. Masters competitions, regional meets, even national championships. Maya almost laughed. I couldn't do that. I have a career, responsibilities. I haven't trained seriously in over 10 years. Age is just a number in the pool, Coach Rodriguez said. I've seen people start competing in their 40s, 50s, even 60s. The question isn't whether you're too old or too busy. The question is whether you're ready to stop settling for less than what makes you truly happy. His words hit Maya like a wave. She had been settling, hadn't she? Settling for a job that paid well but left her feeling empty. Settling for a life that looked successful from the outside but felt hollow on the inside. I live 3 hours away, she said weakly. I work 60-hour weeks. I don't even know if there's a decent pool near me. Coach Rodriguez pulled out his phone and showed her a website. Masters swimming programs exist everywhere. Early morning practices before work. Evening sessions after. Weekend meets if you want to compete. People make it work because it matters to them. Maya studied the screen. Photos of people her age diving off starting blocks, cheering after races, holding up medals with huge grins. They looked alive in a way she envied. I don't know, she said. It seems impossible. Everything seems impossible until you take the first step, the coach replied. Here's my card. If you decide you want to explore this, call me. I know coaches all over the country. I can help you find a program. That afternoon, Maya couldn't concentrate on the final workshop. Her mind kept drifting to the conversation by the pool. She found herself researching swimming facilities on her phone, looking up master's programs in her city. There were 3 pools within 20 minutes of her apartment. One had a master's team that practiced at 6 in the morning. Another offered lap swimming during lunch hours. The possibility felt both thrilling and terrifying. That evening, as the retreat wound down, Maya found herself back at the pool one more time. Most of her colleagues had gone to bed or were drinking at the bar. The water was quiet, inviting. She slipped in and began swimming laps, slower this time, more thoughtful. With each stroke, she imagined a different life. One where she woke up excited about the day ahead, where she had something to look forward to besides meetings and deadlines. She pictured herself at a swim meet, standing behind the starting blocks. The nervousness, the excitement, the pure joy of racing again. When was the last time she had felt that kind of anticipation about anything? By the time she climbed out of the pool, Maya had made a decision. She didn't know how she would balance training with work. She didn't know if she could afford a coach or equipment or competition fees. She didn't even know if she was brave enough to try. But she knew she couldn't go back to her old life and pretend this weekend hadn't happened. She couldn't pretend she hadn't remembered what it felt like to be truly alive. The next morning, as the bus pulled away from the resort, Maya clutched Coach Rodriguez's business card in her hand. Through the window, she watched the pool grow smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely. But the feeling it had awakened in her remained as strong as ever. Maya's first day back at the office felt like wearing clothes that no longer fit. Her corner office seemed smaller somehow, the fluorescent lights harsher. She went through the motions of checking emails and attending meetings, but her heart wasn't in it. During her lunch break, instead of eating at her desk like usual, she drove to the aquatic center 15 minutes away. She stood outside for 10 minutes watching through the windows as people swam laps. Finally, she gathered enough courage to walk inside. The smell of chlorine hit her immediately, bringing back a flood of memories. The front desk worker, a cheerful college student named Alex, handed her a day pass and pointed toward the locker room. First time here? Alex asked. First time anywhere in about 10 years, Maya admitted. Her hands shook as she changed into her swimsuit. What if she had imagined being good at this? What if the resort pool had been some kind of fluke? But the moment she slipped into the water, all her doubts vanished. Her body fell into the familiar rhythm immediately. Stroke, breathe, stroke, breathe. The world outside the pool ceased to exist. She swam for 45 minutes straight, losing track of time completely. When she finally stopped, she realized she was sharing a lane with an older woman who had been swimming beside her. You've got beautiful technique, the woman said, treading water. Are you on a team? Not anymore, Maya replied. I used to swim in high school. Well, you should think about joining our master's group. We practice every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 a.m., plus Saturday mornings. I'm Patricia, by the way. Maya introduced herself, and before she knew it, Patricia was telling her all about the team. 23 members ranging in age from 25 to 70. Some were former competitive swimmers like Maya. Others had started swimming as adults. They trained together, competed together, and had become close friends. We're not all about winning medals, Patricia explained, though some of us do pretty well at meets. It's more about challenging yourself, staying healthy, and being part of something special. When Maya got back to the office, she could barely sit still. She kept thinking about what Patricia had said. Being part of something special. When was the last time she had felt like she belonged somewhere? That evening, she called Coach Rodriguez. "I was hoping to hear from you," he said warmly. "How was your first day back to reality?" "Rough," Maya admitted. "But I went swimming at lunch. There's a master's team at the pool near my office. That's fantastic. Are you going to check them out?" Maya hesitated. "I'm scared," she said finally. "What if I'm not good enough? What if they're all serious athletes and I'm just someone having a midlife crisis?" Coach Rodriguez chuckled. Every single person on that team was scared their first day. And half of them probably wondered if they were having a midlife crisis too. The difference between people who pursue their dreams and people who don't isn't talent or age or circumstances. It's willingness to be scared and show up anyway. The next Tuesday, Maya's alarm went off at 5:15. She lay in bed for 5 minutes, staring at the ceiling, every part of her wanting to roll over and go back to sleep. But she thought about what the coach had said, about showing up despite being scared. The pool was nearly empty when she arrived. A few dedicated lap swimmers were already in the water. Maya changed quickly and walked onto the deck looking for signs of the Masters team. "You must be Maya," came a voice from behind her. She turned to see Patricia climbing out of the pool, followed by several other swimmers. "Welcome to our crazy early morning crew." The next hour was a blur of warm-ups, drills, and timed sets. Maya's lungs burned and her muscles screamed, but she kept up with the group better than she had expected. The other swimmers were encouraging, offering tips on technique and cheering each other through the harder sets. "How do you feel?" Patricia asked as they cooled down. "Like I might die," Maya gasped, "but also like I'm finally alive." Patricia laughed. "That's exactly how it should feel." Over the next few weeks, Maya fell into a routine. Tuesday and Thursday mornings at the pool, Saturday morning for longer training sessions. She bought new goggles, a swim cap, and a training suit. Her apartment started to smell faintly of chlorine, a scent she had once hated but now found comforting. Her work colleagues noticed the change immediately. Maya had more energy during meetings. She smiled more often. She even started leaving the office on time instead of staying late just because she felt like she should. "What's gotten into you lately?" her boss asked one afternoon. "You seem different, more focused." Maya thought about how to explain. "I started swimming again," she said simply. "That's great. Exercise is important, helps with stress management." But Maya knew it was more than that. Swimming wasn't just exercise for her. It was medicine for a part of herself she had forgotten existed. 2 months after joining the Masters team, Patricia approached her after practice with a flyer. "Regional championships are coming up in 3 months," she said. "You should enter the 100 freestyle and maybe the 200 individual medley." Maya's stomach dropped. "I'm not ready for competition. I've only been training for 8 weeks. "You're swimming faster than some people who've been with us for years," Patricia insisted. "Competition isn't about winning. It's about testing yourself against your own limits." That night, Maya stared at the entry form for hours. The scared part of her whispered all the reasons she shouldn't do it. She wasn't good enough. She was too old. She would embarrass herself. But a stronger voice, one that had been growing louder every day, reminded her why she had started this journey. Not to be perfect, but to be authentic. Not to win, but to try. She filled out the form and mailed it the next day. The 3 months of training that followed were the hardest and most rewarding of Maya's life. She woke up at 5 a.m. without an alarm. She planned her work schedule around practice times. She learned to fuel her body properly and prioritize sleep. Her times dropped steadily. More importantly, her confidence grew. She started to see herself not as a former swimmer trying to recapture past glory, but as an athlete discovering what she was capable of in the present. The morning of the regional championships, Maya stood on the pool deck surrounded by swimmers half her age and twice her experience. Her heart pounded as she looked at the starting blocks, the timing system, the officials with their whistles and clipboards. "Nervous?" Patricia asked, adjusting Maya's swim cap. Terrified, Maya replied honestly. Good. That means it matters to you. When they called her event, Maya walked to her assigned lane with shaking legs. She had dreamed of this moment for months, but now that it was here, she wondered if she had made a huge mistake. She climbed onto the starting block and looked down at the water. In the reflection, she saw not the scared corporate executive who had attended that company retreat, but a woman who had chosen courage over comfort, who had decided that it was never too late to become who she was meant to be. The starter raised his arm. Swimmers, take your mark. Maya crouched down, muscles coiled and ready. In a few seconds, she would dive into the water and race against the clock. Against her competitors, against every voice that had ever told her to play it safe. I only came for one thing, she whispered to herself. Remembering that night at the resort when everything had changed, the starting signal echoed across the pool. Maya dove in, and for the first time in years, she was exactly where she belonged. The water felt electric as Maya's body cut through it. Every stroke was smooth, every breath perfectly timed. She could hear the crowd cheering, but it sounded distant and muffled. All that mattered was the rhythm of her swimming and the wall getting closer with each stroke. She touched the wall and immediately looked up at the timing board. Her heart nearly stopped. Not only had she finished the race, but she had come in third place. Third place in her very first competition in over 10 years. Maya pulled herself out of the pool, her legs shaking from exhaustion and excitement. Patricia was waiting with a huge smile and a towel. How does it feel to be a medalist? Patricia asked, wrapping the towel around Maya's shoulders. I can't believe it, Maya gasped, still catching her breath. I actually did it. The medal ceremony felt like a dream. Standing on the third-place podium, Maya looked out at the crowd and spotted familiar faces. Her teammates were cheering loudly, holding up signs with her name. Even some of her work colleagues had shown up to support her. As they placed the bronze medal around her neck, Maya thought about how different her life had become. 6 months ago, she was drowning in spreadsheets and meetings. Now she was standing on a podium, proud of what her body could accomplish. But the real surprise came after the ceremony. A woman in her 50s approached Maya near the warm-down pool. Excuse me, are you Maya Chen? The woman asked. Maya nodded, still wearing her medal. I'm Rebecca Thompson from the local newspaper. I've been covering swimming for 15 years, and your story is remarkable. Would you be willing to do an interview? Maya felt her stomach flutter. An interview? About what? About your journey back to competitive swimming. It's inspiring. So many adults think it's too late to pursue their dreams. But you're proof that age is just a number. The interview was published 2 weeks later with the headline, Never Too Late, Local Executive Dives Back into Competitive Swimming. Maya was nervous about people at work seeing it, but the response was overwhelmingly positive. Her boss called her into his office the day after the article came out. Maya prepared herself for a lecture about maintaining professional image or focusing on work priorities. Sit down, Maya, he said, but his tone was warm, not stern. I read the article about your swimming. It's incredible what you've accomplished. Thank you, Maya said carefully. I hope it doesn't interfere with my work performance. Her boss laughed. Are you kidding? Your work has never been better. You're more creative, more energetic, more focused. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. He leaned back in his chair. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. We're launching a new wellness initiative for the company. We want to encourage employees to pursue healthy activities outside of work. Would you be interested in leading the program? Maya was stunned. You want me to help other people find activities like swimming? Exactly. You're living proof that having passions outside of work makes people better employees, not worse ones. The wellness program became Maya's favorite part of her job. She organized lunchtime fitness classes, after-work sports leagues, and even convinced the company to sponsor a corporate relay team for the next regional championships. But the biggest change in Maya's life wasn't professional. It was personal. Swimming had given her confidence she never knew she possessed. She started speaking up more in meetings, suggesting bold new ideas instead of just following orders. She began traveling on weekends to compete in different cities, making friends with swimmers from all over the region. One evening, after a particularly grueling practice, Maya was sitting by the pool when Coach Rodriguez called her. I have a proposition for you, he said. There's a national championship meet coming up in 6 months. The qualifying times are tough, but based on your recent progress, I think you can make it. Maya's heart skipped. National championships? That seemed impossibly ambitious. I don't know, she said. That's a whole different level. Remember what you told me about only coming for one thing? Coach Rodriguez asked. Well, what if that one thing was bigger than you originally thought? That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay in bed thinking about how much her life had changed since that company retreat. She had started swimming again just to feel alive. But now she was considering competing at the national level. The scared part of her brain made a list of all the reasons it was impossible. She would need to train harder than ever. The competition would be fierce. She might embarrass herself on a national stage. But the brave part of her brain, the part that had grown stronger with every lap and every race, reminded her of something important. She had already done the impossible. She had already transformed her life once. Why not do it again? The next morning, Maya called Coach Rodriguez back. I want to try for nationals, she said. What do I need to do? The training program he designed was intense. 6 days a week in the pool, sometimes twice a day. Strength training, flexibility work, nutrition planning. Maya had to restructure her entire life around swimming. She negotiated with her boss to work flexible hours, starting earlier so she could leave in time for evening practice. She meal prepped on Sundays, filling her fridge with the proteins and vegetables her body needed to recover from training. Some of her old friends didn't understand the change. They complained that she never went to happy hours anymore or spent her weekends sleeping in and watching movies. You've become obsessed, one friend said during a rare dinner out. It's just swimming. Why are you taking it so seriously? Maya thought about how to explain. How could she make them understand that swimming wasn't just a hobby for her? It was the thing that had saved her from a life of going through the motions. I'm not obsessed, she said finally. I'm passionate. There's a difference. As the months passed and the national championships grew closer, Maya's times improved dramatically. She was swimming faster than she ever had, even in high school. Her technique was sharper, her racing strategy smarter, but more importantly, she was happier than she had ever been. She woke up each morning excited about the day ahead. She had goals that mattered to her, not just goals that looked good on a resume. 2 weeks before nationals, Maya had a breakthrough swim in practice. She touched the wall and looked up at Coach Rodriguez, who was holding a stopwatch with a huge grin on his face. What was my time? She asked, breathing hard. You just broke the qualifying standard, he said. By 3 seconds. Maya floated in the pool, stunned. She had actually done it. She was going to compete at the national championships. That night, she called her parents to share the news. We're so proud of you, her mother said, her voice thick with emotion. When you first told us you were swimming again, we thought it was just a phase. But watching you chase this dream has been amazing. We'll be there to cheer for you, her father added. Your old coach from high school wants to come too. She said she always knew you had more to give. As Maya hung up the phone, she realized something profound. She had started this journey thinking she was trying to recapture something from her past, but she had actually discovered something entirely new about herself. She wasn't the same person who had given up swimming to focus on her career. She was someone better, someone who had learned that it's never too late to become who you're meant to be. The national championship venue was massive. Maya had competed in regional meets before, but nothing had prepared her for this. The pool deck stretched on forever, with warm-up pools, massage tables, and vendor booths selling everything from goggles to energy bars. Athletes of all ages walked around in team warm-ups, some looking confident and relaxed, others nervous and focused. Maya fell somewhere in between. She had earned her place here, but she still felt like the new kid at school. Remember, you belong here just as much as anyone else, Patricia reminded her as they found their team area. The entire Masters team had made the trip to support Maya, and their presence made her feel less alone. Maya's first event was the 100 freestyle, the same distance she had swum at her very first meet 6 months ago, but this time felt completely different. The stakes were higher, the competition fiercer, the pressure more intense. She spent the morning warming up and visualizing her race. Coach Rodriguez had taught her to imagine every stroke, every breath, every turn. She pictured herself diving in cleanly, maintaining her rhythm and finishing strong. Lane assignments are posted, announced one of her teammates returning from the check-in area. Maya, you're in lane 3 for the 100 free. Lane 3 meant she was seated in the middle of the heat, with swimmers of similar ability on either side. It was exactly where she wanted to be. Fast enough to be competitive, but not so fast that she'd be overwhelmed. As the event got closer, Maya could feel her nerves building. Her hands were shaking slightly as she put on her race suit and cap. She had been preparing for this moment for months, but now that it was here, it felt surreal. "How are you feeling?" Coach Rodriguez asked, appearing beside her warm-up area. "Terrified," Maya admitted. "What if I freeze up? What if I forget everything you taught me?" The coach smiled. "Do you remember what you told me that first day we met? About only coming for one thing?" Maya nodded. "Well, you came for yourself, to prove that you could change your life and chase your dreams. You've already won no matter what happens in that pool." His words helped calm her nerves, but Maya's heart was still racing as she walked to the ready room. She sat quietly among the other swimmers, trying to stay relaxed while visualizing her race one more time. When they called her heat to the blocks, Maya felt like she was moving in slow motion. The crowd seemed louder than ever. The pool looked longer and more intimidating than any she had ever swum in. She found her lane and began her final preparations. She adjusted her goggles, tested the starting block, and took a few deep breaths. In the stands, she could see her parents, her teammates, and even some colleagues from work who had made the trip. "Swimmers, step up," called the starter. Maya climbed onto the block and looked down the length of the pool. 50 meters to the turn, 50 meters back. 100 meters that would determine whether all her training and sacrifice had been worth it. She thought about the company retreat where this journey had started. About the moment she had decided to throw off her work clothes and dive into the pool. About all the early morning practices, the sore muscles, the small victories and setbacks along the way. "Take your mark." Maya crouched down, every muscle in her body coiled and ready. The pool fell silent except for the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. The starting signal echoed through the arena. Maya exploded off the block with the best start of her life. She hit the water cleanly and came up swimming with perfect technique. Her stroke felt smooth and powerful, her breathing relaxed and controlled. At the 25-meter mark, she was right where she wanted to be, in the thick of the race but not leading. She could see swimmers on either side of her, all moving at incredible speed. The turn at 50 meters was crucial. Maya had practiced flip turns thousands of times, but doing one at race pace while surrounded by other swimmers was different. She nailed it, pushing off the wall with explosive power and maintaining her position. The second 50 meters felt like a different race entirely. This was where months of conditioning would pay off. While some swimmers began to fade, Maya felt strong. Her stroke rate increased, but she didn't lose her technique. With 20 meters to go, Maya could see she was in a tight race for second place. The swimmer in lane 2 had pulled slightly ahead, but Maya was gaining with every stroke. 10 meters, 5 meters. Maya gave everything she had, reaching for the wall with a perfectly timed finish. She touched and immediately looked to the scoreboard, gasping for air. The times were taking forever to appear, and Maya's heart was pounding so hard she could barely think. When the results finally flashed on the board, Maya couldn't believe what she was seeing. Not only had she finished second, but she had also broken her personal best time by more than 2 seconds. She floated in the pool, stunned and exhausted. Second place at nationals, in her first year back to competitive swimming. The swimmer in lane 2, who had won the race, swam over to congratulate her. "Amazing race," she said with a genuine smile. "You swam that last 50 like a champion." As Maya climbed out of the pool, she was surrounded by her support crew. Patricia was crying tears of joy. Coach Rodriguez looked like a proud father. Her parents were cheering from the stands, holding up a banner with her name. But the moment that meant the most came when Maya stepped onto the podium to receive her silver medal. As they placed it around her neck and she looked out at the crowd, she realized she had found something more valuable than any medal. She had found herself. The woman standing on that podium was not the same person who had been staring at spreadsheets 18 months ago. This woman was confident, passionate, and unafraid to chase her dreams. She had learned that it's never too late to start over. Never too late to discover what makes you truly happy. As the national anthem played and Maya stood with her hand over her heart, she thought about that moment at the company retreat, when she had said she only came for one thing. She had been wrong, though. She hadn't come for just one thing. She had come for everything, for the courage to change, for the joy of pursuing passion, for the strength to become who she was always meant to be. And now, standing on the podium with a national championship medal around her neck, she realized her journey was just beginning. There would be more meets, more goals, more opportunities to grow and challenge herself. But most importantly, there would be more moments like this one. Moments where she felt completely, authentically alive. The company retreat had started with her throwing aside her work clothes to reveal a simple swimsuit underneath. But what she had really revealed was something much more powerful, the person she was meant to become. As Maya walked off the podium, metal gleaming around her neck, she knew she would never again settle for a life that didn't make her feel this alive. She had learned to swim not just through water but through fear, doubt, and limitation, and she was just getting started.